Okay. Hello. Welcome to Heard at the Bar.
I'm Courtney.
And I'm Kristy. So this podcast, we have been talking about it. It's been like, I want to say 6 months?
At least that we've been talking about it.
Talking about doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's been in production.
We talked about it, I think, before March.
It was
right?
March.
It was before March. And then in March we started getting serious.
So close, like 9 months then.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like a whole baby growing
Yeah.
inside you. It took us that long.
It took us that long to get to here.
And the crazy thing is, first of all, what I love about it was you were like, hey, I'm not working anymore. And I'm like, hey, I've been wanting to do this. Not knowing whether, I didn't know what we were going to talk about. I didn't know what it was going to be. I had some
ideas. You had podcast ideas.
Yeah. And I don't think we've even covered the topics.
Not what you wanted to. No,
right?
No, not at all. No.
We haven't even gotten to those yet, so which is kind of fun. But I was starting to think that, oh, this isn't going to happen. Courtney's not really into this. We got to cut that. The burping gets cut. Okay. I'm just looking to Clara, who's going to take care of our editing.
And then the next thing you know, it's actually in the podcast. Because it's kind of funny.
So I was starting to think that, oh, Courtney's not really into this. This isn't actually going to happen. And I can't remember. I think it was actually after I invested in the microphone.
We got the fancy mics.
The fancy microphone. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to happen. Because there was at least 2 weeks in a row where something happened on the day we were supposed to.
Yeah, I had a family situation the one day. And then the very next week, we were like, I was like, at the very last second, we were actually ready to come here.
Right.
And I had everything in my bag. I was all ready to go.
Yeah.
Niamh, my daughter, had a inflamed thumb.
Yeah.
And earlier in the week, she had showed me her thumb, and it was like really red and puffy. And she had told me that she couldn't hold a pen. Yeah. So I made an appointment to take her to the doctor. So that Friday, I pick her up from school. She's limping out to the car, and I'm like, what the thumb? What? Why are you limping? And she's pointing at her knee, and I can see her knee is swollen, and I'm like, what did you do? She's like, I didn't do anything.
Right.
And I'm like, okay. And she's like, I'm like, good thing we're going to the doctor. So we go to the doctor, and they're looking at her thumb, and while she's there, her knee is getting bigger and bigger. And so the doctor's like, okay, well, I think you need to take her to the hospital. Like, I could do all these things here, but if she goes to the hospital, she'll be looked at.
Right. Now, up until that point, you had sent me the picture of her thumb.
Well, I was just going to say, I was about to, so then they're like, we're going to take you to the hospital. So I sent you the picture of the thumb.
Right.
Which just looks like a red inflamed thumb.
So I'm thinking, give the girl some Benadryl.
Yes.
She's been stung by something.
And get your butt into the thing, and let's take this podcast.
Are you committed to this or not? No, I feel like a complete dick.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, thinking what is going on. So I take her to the hospital. Meanwhile, I'm texting you to be like, so we're now at the hospital.
Right.
And I'm thinking, like, I even sent you a picture of me with my books to prove that I actually had my stuff with me. I was ready for the podcast.
Yeah.
But now I'm sitting in a hospital room writing out ideas for the podcast because I can't do the podcast.
Yeah.
And then, like, things progressively got worse.
Right.
And worse. And so it ended up being, like, she ended up having emergency surgery on her knee.
So goes in for a swollen
thumb. And ends up coming out with knee surgery. Like, and then 2 weeks later, we find out she has Lyme disease. So, like, just...
So the knee surgery was to pull out the...
Infection.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is we went to the hospital. They saw her, like, no fever, no nothing.
Yeah.
They're looking at her thumb, and they're like, wow, like, touching it, it's hot, like, burning hot.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, okay. And they're looking at her knee, and they seem to be focused more on her knee being swollen. So they told us they were going to get ortho to come down and take a look at it, which they did. And everything they do in a hospital takes an hour.
Right.
So, like, we're going to call ortho. Okay, well, an hour later, someone from ortho shows up. So they look at her and they poke her around a little bit. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll be back. And then an hour later, somebody comes back to see you. And they're like, oh, we need to do blood. Then an hour later, you get the results from the blood. Right. Then from there, an hour later, someone comes to draw fluid from the knee. And so they basically did the fluid from the knee and said, this looks infected.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay. Now, meanwhile, Niamh is starving.
Okay.
She hasn't eaten since 11 a.m.
Right.
And I'm trying to be like, hey, once we get the antibiotics, because they've said infection, I'm thinking antibiotics.
Right.
Once we get the antibiotics, I'll take you to Taco Bell.
Right.
So then, now it's 7 o'clock at night, and she hasn't eaten since 11, but they won't feed her because she might have to have surgery. So she's dying. She's getting hangry.
Yes, yes.
And
she's a teen.
And she's a teenager. And Niamh is somebody who downplays pain.
Okay.
So meanwhile, she's telling the boy that, oh, it's no big deal. They're just gonna, take this look at it and, it'll all be good. Yeah. So no support there because she's downplaying it to him.
Right, right.
She has failed to tell me that she has been in pain for 6 weeks at this point.
6 weeks.
So I'm thinking this is new pain that has just happened.
Right.
So as they're talking to her, she's like, yeah, I think I've been having this pain since probably the middle of August. And I'm thinking, what?
Yeah.
How did you not ever tell me that you've been in this significant pain? She's like, yeah, I just thought I was being a pussy. And I'm like, who teaches their child that? I would never teach my child that. I'm all about the, yes, I do have a high pain tolerance, but I'm not teaching my daughter that she needs to have that high pain tolerance, right? So I'm like, I don't even understand. You've not even been taking Advil. And she's like, no. And she's thinking, because the boy's a hockey player and he gets bumped around and doesn't complain, that she shouldn't complain.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like,
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we get going and they're like, wow, yeah, like this is well before we know it's Lyme disease. We just think that there's something going on here. And then we're going through and they're talking. And I know a little, we had talked initially about, she's 17. There are things when you have a child over 16 that they will no longer tell you.
Right.
So the medical community will no longer tell you, even though you're the parent.
Yeah.
And I don't know about your daughters.
Yeah.
But she's high anxiety.
Okay. Yeah.
She is one of those people who, when a doctor walks in, she shuts down and she just looks at me. So those things where you see I've seen it on TikTok before, where the doctor says something to the daughter like, so how are you feeling? And the daughter looks at the mom for the answer.
Right.
It's not that I'm controlling or anything like that. She just physically will not speak to somebody.
Right.
So she literally is looking at me to make the answers.
Right.
So then obviously they ask me to leave the room.
Oh, because they're thinking that she's not saying things because you're there.
Something because I'm there.
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking, like, little do you know, my daughter tells me absolutely everything. Yeah. Things I don't want to know, I know.
Yeah, Isabel's the same way. Yeah, open book.
Yes, and I know that was an experience I had with my son.
Yeah.
Since he was probably 11.
Okay, so I'm going to interject because we still need to talk about this whole Lyme disease experience. Yes. But I'm just going to interject a little story, a little Isabel story.
Yes.
So during her pubescent years, I had opened up the studio. So I was not home very much. I was here a ridiculous amount of hours. And so she was home with Troy, my husband. And he would get complete details about what was going on with her. Right, so when she started her period, and she'd come in and she'd be talking about consistency and she's like, I don't know, is this okay? Is this normal? And he's like, I don't know, but maybe we talk to mom about it when she gets home. She's like, okay, and then she would continue talking about it. Maybe we should. Oh my goodness, it's so funny how. Anyways, I just think that is the sweetest thing, and she's like, 50% of the population bleeds. Why wouldn't we talk about this? I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, of course. Anyways, okay, so sorry. Little example of
that's it exactly
how much these kids talk and shit.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that's good because I
wouldn't have shared that with my
mom. When I was a kid, I literally never even told my mom when I got my period.
Right.
I hid it. Yeah. There was stuff in the closet. I just used it and went on about my business. Didn't say anything to anyone. Didn't tell anybody anything. That's just.
Yeah.
Kids today are totally
I called
different.
for mom and my dad answered.
Oh.
And I'm like, dude, get mom,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
No. My mom literally had to pull me out of the pool and take me aside and be like, did you? And I'm like, yeah. Whatever. Moving on.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Totally different.
Yeah.
But
So they make you leave.
They make me leave, and I'm standing over. I can hear everything that they're saying.
Right. They're on another side of a curtain.
It's a curtain. Like, I'm literally just outside the curtain. Like, seriously. And that's what she said. So she tells them everything.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, they were so shocked. I don't even know why. Anyways, that she was truthful. But we had a conversation going into this where I said to her,
right,
you need to tell the medical people anything they ask.
Right.
If they ask you a question, don't hide it. Don't think someone's judging you. Whatever the answer is, tell them, because it could be the difference between your health.
Right.
So, because I'm never sure how much of it I know.
Right.
Like, did you take something? Have you been smoking something? Like, I don't know these things, and I don't know how much. You don't know how much you're being told until you hear it, and you're like, oh, I already knew that. Like, that's not different. Okay.
Right.
And it's the same thing. So I was on our way to the hospital. I said to her, you tell them everything.
Right.
So then when she starts divulging this pain situation, and she's talking to these people, I'm like, okay, like, the pain thing? Why are you telling me all this other stuff?
Yeah.
But you're not telling me about your
pain.
pain. Oh, like, honey, I get that we come from a family, like, I have endometriosis, so I'm in pain a lot of the time, and she knows that.
Right.
So, and like Ryan, my husband, has IBS, so he's also in pain. You know what I mean? Then those are all things that there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So I don't know if it's just that she as a child had kidney stones.
Oh, wow.
So when she was 6, she had kidney stones and had to have surgery and was in a lot of pain. And actually, the doctor, she ended up having stents, and they took the kidney stones out and everything like that. And the doctor said the size of her kidney stone would have had a grown man curled in a ball on the ground screaming. And she didn't even, the only way you knew she was in pain is she was gray.
Wow.
Yeah, she never said anything. Had she not had blood in her urine, we would never have known she had kidney stones. We took her to the hospital because I thought she was a 6-year-old with her period. And it was kidney stones.
Oh my God.
We had no idea.
Wow.
But yeah, so she has a very high pain tolerance.
Yeah, geez.
Very high pain tolerance.
Wow.
So yeah, so doing all this stuff, and we go, and then they do the knee, and they take the sample of the fluid, and they're like, it's infected.
Yeah.
We might have to do surgery. Okay. So now I'm trying to explain to the 17-year-old who's starving and hangry beyond hangry, and now mad at the boy because he's not being supportive, because she hasn't told him that there's and he has no idea.
Yeah.
He thinks she's being a complainer about this little needle.
And I'm getting the updates from you on social
yes, and
media.
I'm messaging, and
I'm like, damn, I'm a jerk.
You're thinking I don't want to have anything to do with this podcast. I'm just trying really hard to avoid it.
God, I'm so sorry, Courtney. You're going through hell.
And yeah, so then we go, and we're going into surgery. It's now 12 in the morning. So we got there at 2 in the afternoon. It's now 12 in the morning. Meanwhile, my husband doesn't know either. So they weren't allowing more than one family member in.
Right.
So he brought our bag with our chargers because our phones were about to die because we didn't know.
Right.
So he brings the chargers, drops off some clothing for her because she's in her school uniform.
Right.
No, they ended up putting her in a gown, but he brought us stuff, and at that point we didn't know.
Right.
So I'm kind of texting him little updates to be like, oh, apparently they're doing surgery.
Yeah.
And he's now sleeping because it's midnight.
Right.
Not having realized that it was his like
and same thing. He's just thinking she's going in.
He's
got an
thinking
infection,
she's getting antibiotics, and they're just taking a really long time to talk to us.
Yeah.
So now Niamh's telling the boy that she's gonna die.
Oh God. We went from I'm fine to
I may die. I may
it.
not make it. That's basically what she said. I may not make it. And the poor boy is like,
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what the heck? So, anyways, so she goes into surgery, and right before the doctor said, this is what the surgeon says. She looks at us and she says, I don't know if you actually need this surgery or not. I probably won't know until I go in, but I'm already awake, so we might as well do it. So here I am by myself.
Oh my God.
With this doctor, the anesthesiologist. It's obviously after hours. there's a whole bunch of interns ready to scrub in to see this surgery. My daughter's looking at me and I don't know what to do, but okay.
And it was a full, like, they put her under and everything.
Yeah, they totally put her under. And so I went and waited. Didn't know. They just gave me a little code, and I'm watching on this TV screens at the hospital because they don't put names or anything like that. You see this, and it said, okay, it's going to take probably half an hour. Surgery will be half an hour. So I'm like, okay, it's 12:40. I'm like, okay, should be done by 1.
Yeah.
So 1 o'clock comes around.
Nothing yet.
1:15 still says she's in the OR, and I'm like, starting to get really nervous.
Right.
So then I get, my phone rings, and it's the doctor.
Okay.
And she says to me, I am so happy we did that surgery. It was infected. I was able to get out all of the infection. Everything is good. She should be great when she comes to. No pain. Should all be good. Okay, that's what she says. Okay. All right. So then I sit down, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy they did the surgery.
Right.
Okay. And the doctor almost sounded like validated.
Okay.
That this was the right decision.
Right.
That it was a good thing that they were doing this. So she called it septic arthritis is what they said she had.
And I've never even heard of this
No.
before.
So I Google it.
Yeah.
Obviously I Google
Google
it.
MD.
Anyway, Google MD, yeah. So then I'm waiting and I'm still not. She still says she's in the OR, but I've already talked to the doctor, so I know the doctor's not in the OR.
Right.
So I'm like, what the heck? So then I wander my way through, find the after hours area. There's a phone. I pick it up and I call. Yeah. I'm like, hi, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. Do I call you? Do I not? My daughter just had surgery. And she was like, oh yeah, she's here. She's still sleeping. I'll call your number as soon as wait a minute, just a second. She just woke up. Okay, I'm going to come get you. I'm like, okay, great.
You couldn't be there while she was sleeping?
No, apparently not. She had to wake up or something like that. Anyways, apparently all she did was open her eyes and go back to sleep.
Right.
So I got in and she was still sleeping.
Okay.
So then we have the whole, she wakes up. She is, I'm going to say anesthetic. You come out of anesthetic like you do when you're drunk.
Yeah.
So her reaction is very, very similar to having had alcohol.
Well, you're a little bit loopy,
yes.
so you're a little bit
so she's a crier.
And...
So she's a crier.
Oh, okay.
So when she's drinking, she's a crier.
Okay.
So she looks at me and she goes, can we go to McDonald's now?
Oh.
And she's starving. Right, because she hasn't eaten since like 11 a.m. And
let's get out of here.
Yeah. She's like, can we go get McDonald's? And the nurse says, no, you can't have McDonald's. She looks at me and she just starts bawling.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
And then she's like, yeah, I'm fine. And I was like, are you crying because you can't have McDonald's? And she's like, yes. So then the nurse is like, do you want me to get you a popsicle? No. Do you want a drink? No. Do you want crackers, cookies? No. So she's like, just maggot, just a right maggot. So anyways, we're talking to her and her knee hurts and they're trying to get her some medication. And as they give her medication, she starts having an allergic reaction.
Oh my goodness.
So she is allergic to amoxicillin.
Okay.
The antibiotic they give you is a cousin of amoxicillin.
Okay.
So she has a hives reaction.
Yeah.
So then they're getting her Benadryl. She had a reaction to the antihistamine they gave her in the ER.
Oh my goodness.
So she couldn't take that because she had an allergic reaction. So then they're giving their Benadryl. It seems to work. It's good. We get to her room. Everything's good. So then they come to see us, and the doctor had told her that she shouldn't feel any pain.
Right.
Well, she's got pain.
Oh.
Well, she is not used to, she's used to having pain, but so she hears the doctor say that she shouldn't have pain. She shouldn't have pain. So she figures she's made this pain up in her head.
Oh.
So doesn't she try to walk on it? Doesn't she go to the bathroom and try to do a squat because the doctor told her she shouldn't have pain? I'm like, you can't.
And it's just been sliced open.
Yes.
Honey.
Yeah, I know. And yes.
Yeah.
So, yes. Yeah, it was a tough few days, and then they kept us in. So I kept messaging you because literally I'm sleeping on a chair that folds out to a cot beside her bed, and they keep telling us she's not going home for at least 72 hours.
I've given up on the fact that we're going to take the podcast. Like this is now into the weekend. I'm not. You're not messaging me because I'm.
So it started on.
I'm not sitting here like.
No, and I'm thinking it was Thursday. I think Thursday was the day we were going to do the podcast. Was it?
Was it?
I think it was
Friday.
Thursday. I thought it was Thursday because I think she had surgery at 12:40 a.m. on Friday.
Is that what it
The
was?
13th.
Okay, so
because it was Friday the 13th. Because Niamh's response was, "I probably would never have agreed to have surgery on Friday the 13th."
Yeah.
But it didn't occur because we went in on the 12th. Yeah, so it was the Friday. So yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. She did not get to go home until Monday.
Oh my god.
So when she goes home...
And this whole time you're thinking that she's got septic arthritis.
Septic arthritis, yeah. So we do that. So then the Friday comes, we take her back to the hospital. We go to the specialist. So we're going to... we went to see the ortho people, and they said there were no test results back, that none of her cultures had grown bacteria though,
right,
which is something they expect with septic arthritis, I guess, is that it will present to tell you what bacterial infection you have,
right,
but nothing happened. So then that was the Friday, and we just thought, she was still asking questions about why she's still in pain, because she was still in pain and her knee was very swollen. The Monday comes round and I get a call from the infectious disease at Middlesex Health Unit.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, answer the phone, and he's like, "Hi, I'm calling from the infectious disease at the Middlesex Health Unit." Meanwhile, I'm going through like,
yeah. What the heck does she have?
And I didn't even know it was Niamh. Like, I was thinking like, Kian? Like, did something happen that I'm not aware of? What's going on? And he's saying, "Oh, I'm calling it, obviously, Niamh's name is spelled Gaelic.
Right.
So nobody ever pronounces it properly." So he's like, "Niamh?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, "Niamh." And I was like, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah.
And so he's like, "Is this Courtney?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay, well, I have permission from her to talk to you," because when she was at the hospital, she was telling everybody, "Just talk to my mom. I don't even care. Just give my mom permission. She can have permission to talk to me."
Yeah.
To talk to you. So talk to him, and he's like, "Yeah, so her test is positive for Lyme disease." And I'm like, oh my goodness. They did ask us in the ER when we first got there, could she have been bitten by a tick?
Right.
And I was like, no, I don't think she was bitten by a tick. So rewind. I'm thinking back to the summer.
Yeah.
So she went to the boys' trailer.
Yeah.
The boys' trailer is at Turkey Point.
Okay.
Which is huge tick infestation there.
Oh, okay.
So then we're thinking back. She came home, she had lots of mosquito bites, but she did have one bite on her upper arm that we thought was a spider bite.
Oh.
There was nothing in it, but it didn't look like her mosquito bites.
Right.
And it hurt.
Oh.
And it wasn't a bullseye, but it was very red and very prominent.
Okay.
And at the time, we just put special
Lyme
stuff
disease,
on it.
It should have the bullseye.
The everything I've seen says that to get Lyme disease, it's 24 to 48 hours, that the tick has to be attached.
Okay.
I know from a friend, she had a tick in her ear once and it embeds. I've seen it on my dog.
Yeah.
I've pulled ticks off my dog before. And they go right in, right? Yeah. So
a friend of mine's a nurse, and her daughter had one on her neck.
Yeah.
And she had to go to emerge. She's like, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
No, and I have thought of intense, how I would do it if it happened. So then I was like, and at the time when we were talking, I was like, well, maybe it was in your hair. And so what the Middlesex Health Unit guy said to me was, he said it could have just been attached and she could have washed it off when she had a shower.
Yeah.
Or brushed it off. Or it might have not really had hold. It just has to have bitten her and held on, they said, for 24 to 48 hours. So she doesn't know. It could have been on her upper arm and she didn't notice it.
Oh my God.
And it went away.
Right.
And didn't think anything of it.
Right.
But the symptoms started about 4 to 6 days after.
Wow.
That she started having. So she did call me from her bed the weekend after she had been at the trailer, had called me to say she was in so much pain in her shoulder, which was right by where the bite would have been, in her shoulder, that she couldn't move. Could I bring her Advil and Tylenol?
Oh.
So she could take 2 Advil and Tylenol because the pain was that bad she couldn't move.
Oh my God.
So, but I didn't ever make any connections.
Right.
No connection. And then she never mentioned the pain, so I just assumed she was fine.
You're a bad mother.
I'm a terrible, terrible mother. I didn't ask questions. She had a headache too. She had a headache, so she did ask for Advil quite often for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But she also was anemic and was found to be anemic in July, and that caused headaches. So I didn't
Yeah.
And
well, why
she was
would you
playing,
think
right?
Lyme disease, right? There's no
No.
bullseye on her anywhere that
Nothing.
would be your first.
Anything that I read
Right.
didn't, but her symptoms match Lyme disease. So I felt terrible because then the boy is like, well, you can't come to my trailer anymore. And she's like devastated. She's like, no, like that's no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not your fault.
Right.
Right? Like, you just have to be more cautious now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but now we're trying to figure out, like, how does this, said it was caught very early. So hopefully she's almost done her 1 round of antibiotics. She goes on Friday to see a rheumatologist and then the infectious diseases again.
Oh my God.
So I don't know, but grade 12. And here's the other symptom that you would never have thought. So she has a photographic memory.
Okay.
Or she did have a photographic memory.
Yeah.
So we're not sure if the medicine, because she is allergic to the antibiotics,
Okay.
we're not sure if the medicine is making her no longer have the photographic memory or if it's the Lyme disease.
And will it come back?
And will it come back?
Out?
So here is the frustration. She's trying to get good grades to get into university.
Gosh, and she's relied on that.
She's relied on because that's how she studies.
Oh my gosh.
She makes notes, she studies. She could normally tell you the paragraph, the number on what page in which of her study notes. So she does study. Like, and she does her notes because then she remembers where she wrote that and she can tell you verbatim. And I have a version of the same thing.
Oh
So if I'm ever training you, or you ever watched one of my things at Western, I can see in front of my face what it looks like and where it is. And so when I'm speaking, I'll be like, over here on this is what it says, because I can see it.
Oh wow.
So it's the same for my dancing. That's exactly how I remember my dancing.
Oh,
is because I remember what it looks like.
Right.
To what part of the music, I know what it looks like and how I should be moving.
Right.
And that's just the way I've always done it. Well, I can't imagine suddenly having nothing.
No.
So we only figured it out. We were driving because she had this obsession with soup dumplings. And so we were driving Walmart in Woodstock, I think, was the only place that had these soup dumplings because Costco was sold out and none of the Walmarts in London had them.
Okay.
So we were driving, and as we were driving, she was sitting there just blankly staring out the window. And she said to me, Mom, nothing's going through my head. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I don't have an inner monologue. And I'm like, what? Because my brain is never quiet. Like, absolutely never quiet. I've always got conversations going through my brain. I will randomly, like if I was sitting here talking to you, I'd randomly be like, remember 2 weeks ago when you were talking about this?
Yeah.
And I'll bring it up.
Right.
Like, I replay conversations that people have had with me constantly in my head while I'm doing something else.
Right.
And she's like, literally, there's nothing in my brain. I hear nothing. It's silent, Mom. I have never been silent. People talk about taking ADHD meds and having the silence. She's like, I feel like that's what's happening. She's like, I don't like it. I can't. She's like, normally I spell things out. She writes on her leg with just her fingers.
Oh, okay.
As she's speaking because she sees it written out on her leg.
Wow.
She's like, I have nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Oh my gosh.
So now we're trying to figure out, is this Lyme disease? Is this the medication? So hopefully we'll have,
Courtney.
But can you imagine?
That's
so
a lot.
To be
From
in grade
a swollen
12
thumb.
from a swollen thumb, all of this,
Crazy.
like, how do you?
I don't.
Yeah. So I can't, like, this is so for her. She hasn't applied to any universities, but she wants to go to King's.
Yeah.
And this is where she is. She's just like, I can't remember.
Wow.
So she did not do well on a math test shortly after all of this because she couldn't physically remember anything. She did she studied like 3 hours. She did all of the test things. She got them all right. She did everything. She understood it. She couldn't get the right answer.
You've talked to school about it though.
Yeah. So I've let all the teachers know, and actually, funny enough, the vice principal called me because she had a lot of excused absences.
Oh.
Because she had to go to medical appointments.
Right.
So right after, so she was in the hospital for 5 days.
Right.
And then she had specialist appointments.
Right.
So I would take her to school.
Yeah.
Pick her up, take her back to school.
Right.
So she had a bunch of excused absences. And they called, and it was funny how very mean they are and how condescending they were on the phone with me until I said, oh, is it documented anywhere that she has this? Because I've let guidance know and each of her teachers know. No, it wasn't. But the way he called me and basically talked down to me. First of all, he called it an AI. And I was
AI?
like, so he's like, I'm calling about Niamh's AIs. And I was like, what's an AI?
Absence.
No, it's an explained absence. He used the wrong
Yeah.
But he was like, yeah, that's right. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know what AI is, because it's artificial intelligence to me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what artificial intelligence is she using? Did she cheat? Like, I was like, I'm not sure what we're talking about. And he's like, yeah, it's an explained absence. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not an AI. So, but I didn't say that to him. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, I noticed that she has a lot of them. She did really well the first couple of weeks of September, and then this. And I'm like, do you have any record of the fact that she was in the hospital or diagnosed with Lyme disease? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, I did let guidance know right away.
Yeah.
And her teachers all knew. Like, as soon as she was admitted to the hospital, I emailed all her teachers.
Right.
And then as soon as we found out it was Lyme disease, I then emailed them again to be like, here's the diagnosis. We're not sure how to work through it yet.
Yeah.
But here's what's going on. And he was very nice at that point. But I was like, how do you call a parent and be condescending? Like, do you think my daughter was cheating and like doing it herself? Which I'm sure happens.
Right. Yeah.
Everything's an app these days. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with that.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my God, Courtney.
Yeah.
What an experience.
Yeah.
All of it.
All of it.
To finish.
All of it in the past less than a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry for doubting you.
I really want to do this podcast.
I hope so. This is happening.
This is happening.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I guess we may have follow-ups on how she manages through this, and hopefully, hopefully she gets her photographic memory back.
I hope she, it's one of those experiments. And I have to say, as a psychology, my degree's in psychology, I've always done this with my kids, like doing little tests and doing little things even when they were little.
Yeah.
This is one of those things that I'm like, I want to test it. I want to see, is it like I want to see when she's done the antibiotics daily. Does it come back?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Is it the Lyme disease? Like, what causes that? How do you...
And does Lyme disease, does it have long-term effects, or is it...
it's apparently fairly new that it's been discovered, but most people, I guess, that have it don't get diagnosed right away.
Right.
So they do have long-term negative effects.
Okay.
But from what I've seen, it can be, I don't know that it's 100% cured, but I think it's like mono, that it maybe stays but goes away.
Okay.
Unless you run down kind of thing. Okay. Like, I'm thinking it's something like that.
Wow.
But I'm not 100% sure, and really I haven't had that many conversations about Lyme disease, and I'm hoping maybe Friday.
Wow.
We'll hear more about have they ever, because the infectious disease doctor we saw 2 weeks ago had never heard of it impacting memory, which she then referred us to a doctor who specializes in medical allergies. So I think that might be the reaction of the antibiotic, maybe that's what's causing it, versus Lyme disease.
This is wild.
The other crazy thing is that even though she's on antibiotics, she's still having the pain, the joint pain, and it moves. It was in her elbows the last we were there, and I think she told me, I forget where she was having pain this weekend. It was either her legs or somewhere separate.
And this is the crazy thing with our climate here in Canada. Ticks are becoming worse because we aren't having the deep freeze. We aren't having the winters like we used to. So they aren't completely
They're not dying off.
They're continuing.
We need like a super sub freeze this year.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get it.
Yeah.
Extremes are happening all over the place.
Yes.
That's for another episode.
That's another episode.
Well, that's it for today. And wow, we look forward to hearing how she's improved next time we talk about this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Thank you
whatever you're doing.
Whether you watched us or you're listening to us.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Bye.
It's 35 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna tell you that it was like time, but we were like in the middle of stuff.
Yeah, and it was feeling like it was starting to...
It was, yeah.
But that's interesting because I think we're starting to sense the 20-minute mark, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Wow. Okay, so you gotta download this.
Yeah, and literally we can talk about it for...
Jesus Christ. That's